You are listening to Vicky Goes On and On with Vicky Stokes and James Wells.
Did you just up the volume a little bit? I don't know if you did or not. Did you? Oh, fantastic. Well done. Thank you.
Just a wee bit.
Cool.
I don't have a mouse, so I had to do it.
Cool. Wonderful.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm all right.
Is that how you are? Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm on my own.
Yeah.
And
she's left you.
She's left me. This is why I've been
sorry about the breakdown.
This is why I've been next door for dinner, because she, for all you know, I'm telling the truth. She could have left me.
I know. I just thought she's
taken the baby and gone to Sidcup of all places. Fucking hell. It's that bad.
I feel like you would have told me via text.
Okay, would I though? You know what I'm like, would I? You know, most people
I hope so.
That are close to me don't know I've got a child, because I don't put this stuff out to the world. So
they're not that close to you then, are they?
No, you know, why would I tell people that my marriage is dissolved?
Well, I consider us to be very good friends. So you would say, oh God, you never guess what happened.
Okay. Well, it hasn't. My marriage is absolutely fine. My boiler, on the other hand, is fucked. So living out in the countryside as we do, the 27-year-old Rayburn that we inherited, which is also the boiler, has packed up. Now, we knew this was coming anyway, because it was a bit temperamental when we first moved in. So in May of last year, we ordered a new one. Said new Rayburn has only just arrived because of waiting for a part. Yeah, all that shit.
Yeah. Supply chain issue.
So last week, the guys phoned me and said, it's here. Can we come and install it next week? I said, yes, please. Fantastic. Because we've been using the fire in the living room, and we've had the central heating on, but we've been very sparse about it. You know, 2 hours here and there, 2 hours. Yeah. And that's it. So I'm like, yeah, brilliant. Because I didn't want to rock the boat and it to just die. On Friday, the day after getting the phone call, the boiler decided, do you know what?
I've had enough.
You don't want me anymore. I heard the boiler heard the phone conversation, and was
I'm on the boiler's side.
Yeah, and he was like,
fine.
Well,
he's like, fine, be like that.
But he wasn't putting his weight anyway, so he might as well have fucked off. So that died.
She's gone to get some heat.
Yeah, we spent the weekend with electric heaters and stuff, and then today, baby and Hayley have gone off to Hayley's parents.
The warmth of Sidcup.
I'm staying in the cold with Caesar, and for the next few days, the guys will be installing a new Rayburn. So, in answer to your original question, how am I? I'm cold.
Cold.
I've got an electric radiator next to me now, and it's doing the job.
I thought you were going to say a whiskey.
Oh no, that'll be coming later. Don't you worry. I mean, I don't need an excuse to have a whiskey anyway, but every night it's been, do you know what? Just to warm the cockles.
It does warm your cockles. It does though, doesn't it? It really does. Yeah. Oh, so, you get a nice flush.
Yeah. So does red wine.
A nice flush.
So does tequila. So does sherry.
Tequila.
Yeah, it's all been warming the cockles. But apart from that, I'm
good. Medicinal, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's medicinal.
Yeah. So
I've heard.
As soon as that's all done and we've got proper heating, then please do come down and visit. But
okay,
I'm not. I don't expect anyone to live in a fridge. You know.
The thing is, growing up, and currently in my family house, they don't have heating. So
what do they do?
I'm used to being cold. We put the cooker on.
No, but have you got no rads?
The cooker is just always on.
There's no rads or anything.
No, there's no central heating at all.
Is there a fire?
Why would you? There was a fire in the front room that was like that sort of quite ugly 1970s council house fire.
Right. Okay.
Right.
What, like an open
it
fire?
Worked.
Or Like
No,
a
no,
log,
no.
log fire,
You know,
an electric fire.
no, a gas fire, but like with, you get like the 1 bar or the 3 bars or the 2 bars, but it's a gas,
Yeah.
on the wall,
Yeah.
not particularly attractive looking, brownish wood, right?
Mm.
But it fucking worked. So no, there was only one fire. Well, there were two anyway. It's a very boring story, but the upshot is it's a very cold house.
But
And
I mean,
also the back door's always open because of the dogs
but then
going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out.
are your family a bit like me? Over the years, I'm quite used to the cold. So actually, I know I'm saying I'm cold, but I'm okay. Like you, and then when you're an adult, you just chuck a few layers
You
on,
just
and you're
put
all right.
some clothes
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
do you know the one thing that Alba takes after me for is cold feet? She's always got cold feet, and I think
Cold feet, warm heart.
well, exactly. I think she is a little bit resilient. She's a little bit resilient to these kind of things. She's fine, but we've still been like, okay, well, do you know what? The little bit of hot water that we've got left, that'll be for
No,
her
of course,
baths.
but
She gets all
that's
the heat in her room from the electric rads. But
I
obviously,
mean, but that's the
that's not
point of being a parent,
parent,
isn't
yeah.
it?
But that's
You
not
put your children
sustainable.
first.
So it's kind of like, especially now when
No, well, and it's probably nice for Hayley's mum and dad.
Also, I said to Hayley, treat it as a
little holiday.
yeah, exactly, a little holiday. You haven't got to worry about house
Feet
stuff.
up.
So, but yeah, apart from that, it's all good. It's all gravy. We soldier on.
Also, it has gone very cold since yesterday.
So this is the reason, right? So bearing in mind, we all did this last May.
This is the reason.
We all did this last May.
Do you know what? I've had enough.
Never happens in summer, does it? Never happens in summer.
No,
but like,
right.
The reason why we went and ordered it in May, because we knew last May, because we knew that it was on its last legs, and we said, let's get it done now, because obviously there'll be a lead time for it to get delivered anyway. But let's get in before
May.
Let's get in before the winter hits and it's really cold.
Snap.
Ironically, it fucking didn't matter, did it? So, yeah.
Supply chain issues.
COVID. Yeah. COVID, Brexit. All that stuff. The government.
Brexit. Rovid.
Boris, Bojo. It's all the reason.
I'm refusing to call him Boris or Bojo anymore. He's no pal of mine.
It's just cunt.
It's fucking Johnson. Well, yeah, that cunt Johnson.
Yeah. He even tarnishes the name Johnson.
Do we know anyone Johnson and Johnson?
Yeah, I mean,
do you know anyone called Johnson?
Baby products,
Yeah, but they say it's baby oil.
Mm.
How many babies do they have to squeeze to get that amount of oil out of?
That's true.
Anyway.
How are you?
Such a bad joke. I'm very boring. I've decided I tend not to do anything during winter, right? Because it's too blooming cold and it's
you're a
hibernator,
aren't you? You're a hibernator.
Yeah. And I think that I should just accept that.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing.
There's nothing wrong with being hibernation.
Because you think, oh, I ought to be going out, I ought to be doing something. I've been at work all week and I should see people. No, it's winter. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
I will take to my bed, and I think that that's okay.
Yeah. Do you reckon things like Netflix? Do you reckon like their viewing figures shoot up like wintertime?
Oh, I would imagine so. Yeah. I mean, famously, things like stand-up comedy do terribly in summer.
Yeah.
Because it's a nice warm summer's evening. I don't want to be inside a dark room watching a bloke bang on about his life. And so I know somebody, they went to a comedy festival thing in Canary Wharf, and like 5 people turned up in the audience. Shit. Because it was just such a nice evening.
That's one more than our listeners. Jesus.
It's not true. We have more than 5 listeners.
Yeah.
We're very popular in Japan.
Was it Japan this week? Is it? Fucking hell.
Yeah. I haven't checked. Big in Japan. Do you remember that song?
Alphaville, who sung Forever Young. Forever young, I want to be forever young. Big in Japan was, oh, you're big in Japan. Oh, right, big in Japan.
It would be really good to be big in Japan,
Big
though,
in
wouldn't it?
Japan. Yeah. Big in Japan.
Yes, it is Alphaville.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
It's a
That's
good
what they were
song.
called.
It starts out quite Japanese, doesn't it? Ding, 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 ding. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. It's a great song.
It's a good song.
Good.
Let's
Do you know what? It's an underrated
do a cover.
80s classic. So,
It is an underrated 80s classic. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Too many songs are underrated 80s classics.
Yeah. I always want to put King of Wishful Thinking into my 80s playlist, but it was like 91. So it's got that it's got that 80s sound, but it's not. It's fucking not.
Oh, so you're not on Twitter anymore,
Which
right?
means then I'm chucking it on with fucking Oasis and it doesn't go right.
Richard Osman tweeted, basically, isn't it great that we're all in agreement that the best Duran Duran song is Ordinary World? And do you know what? I agree. I fucking love that song.
Yeah.
And somebody tweeted back and said, I've never heard a Duran Duran song because in the 80s I was working and raising 3 children and living in Thatcher's Britain and paying off a mortgage and right? And then all these people are like, it came out in 1992. So what are you talking about? Also, you've never heard a Duran Duran song. Like you've never been in a fucking calf. I mean,
but this is what I mean. Like, I've got loads of shit going on, but the radio's still on in the background.
Yeah, but one time, me, Susan, and Kate were out, and Luther Vandross's, oh fuck me, what's it called? Never Too Much.
Never too much, never too much, never too much.
And Susan and I started singing it. Kate was like, "I've never heard the song," and I'm like,
"Oh, come on,
you never heard?
Oh.
Like, fuck off." And I said, "You never had the radio one." And she came out with the most middle class thing ever. And you know what? You can keep all of this in because she fucking agrees with me now. She said, "Oh, we only ever listened to Radio 4." And I said, "You're so middle class, it hurts."
Yeah.
Like, how can you? I was like, "You've never been in the supermarket. Like, there's music around us almost constantly." Anyway, did you know?
Go on.
You know that Milli Vanilli song? Girl, you know it's true.
Yeah.
Did you know that was a cover version? And I don't mean because they weren't the ones singing it. Yes.
By who? Bob Dylan.
Oh, some. Can you imagine?
Yeah, you know it's true.
I can't cope. Girl, I need you.
Excellent.
Oh, mate, I want Bob Dylan to do a cover version of it now.
We'll ask him. We're getting, if he can,
he's one of the listeners.
If he can be listener number 6, then we'll ask him.
Old Robert Zimmerman. Yeah, my dad's a massive fan. So come on.
Yeah.
You owe him.
Yeah.
So when I was about 15, right, I had a friend. I think I might have told you this story before, but I don't think it's been recorded or broadcast. So I had a friend called Soraya, and she was telling me about her aunt lived in America, and one night she was driving along a freeway or whatever, but it was dark and it was kind of in like nowhere, in the middle of nowhere sort of town.
Hicksville kind of thing.
Or like, you know, yeah, basically like buttfuck Alabama or whatever, right? And she came across a pram in the middle of the road. So she
like a
stopped her
baby
car
pram.
because yeah, a stroller. And she was gonna keep just driving, but then she thought, well, God, if
What if there's a
something was
baby
in
in
there,
there?
yeah, exactly, right? You don't know. Because it was kind of like at this point she was on like a country road, and it was like all sort of trees around her or whatever. And so she stops, and she sort of checks the pram just in case, and there's nothing in it, so she like tosses it to one side. But in the meantime, a truck has pulled up behind her. The driver's like flashing his lights and tooting his horn, and so she got really scared, right? So she gets back into the car and she starts driving, and this truck driver is like on her. He's like on her bumper, tooting and shouting, and she's fucking terrified, right? So she's driving, and he's like fucking right behind her, and she's like, Jesus, it was like this guy's gonna kill me or something, right? Anyway, so she eventually comes across a petrol station, or a gas station, I suppose. And it's got like 24-hour diner attached to it, which is lucky. So it's all brightly lit and stuff. So she pulls up, she runs into the diner, and she's like telling waitress or whatever to like call 911, like this guy's been following me for like the last 10 miles or whatever. And then the truck driver runs in. He's like, there's somebody in the back seat of your car.
Whoa.
So when I was about 20, I read that, and turns out it's an urban legend. And I was like, oh, because when my friend Soraya told me, I totally believed the whole story.
And did she know
But
it
it's
was a
not.
fake story?
Probably. She was a strange woman who like had
So what?
half dyed hair and smoked a shitan cigarette. So
Where does the
I don't
pram
know.
come
She
into?
probably. Well, so it was a trick.
It's like
Well,
like bait.
in the story, it's bait, yes, and it's a common trope. So there are other ones where I read one recently. The woman comes across a pram in the same way, driving along, blah 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 blah. The woman comes across a pram and remembers that she's heard that these people are like trapping women or whatever. So she drives around the pram, and then the next day she reads an article or whatever, it's reported that 4 dead men were found in the verge because they were like waiting for an unsuspecting woman, probably a woman, to stop at the pram, and then they were going to jump on her, but instead she drove over them, remember?
Well,
So
okay.
so there are so many of these stories, and they're basically modern fairy tales, right? Because fairy
Folklore.
tales, yeah, well, absolutely, but in specifically fairy tales were told to people, not just children, as cautionary tales.
Right.
Don't go against, like, go straight to your grandmother's house and don't speak to strangers because you will be killed by a wolf, for example, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the wolf is a metaphor for like a strange man. And that's a common strange man. But so I feel like urban legends are just a sort of more modern, grown-up version of that sort of storytelling tradition, right? Cautionary tales that teach us to be distrustful of people, and like, don't answer the phone, don't open the door, don't, do you know what I mean? Like, the babysitter was in the house the whole time, and then
Yeah.
all was coming from within the house. And the thing is I feel like that these have got a resurgence with Facebook, because the number of posts that I see that I'm just like, that's an urban legend. That's an urban legend. I've got a couple of friends on Facebook who keep posting things like, oh, there are vans going around London and they're snatching children off the streets. And I'm like, that's an urban legend.
Yeah.
And I think so. When my friend told me this story originally, I totally believed it. I mean, I was terrified and I was like, and then is she okay? Was she okay? What happened? Oh my God. Right. Then when I found out it was an urban legend, I sort of felt like, oh, I need to be more cynical. And now maybe I've gone too far the other way because I'm just so cynical that I'm like, that can't possibly be true. And then it turns out it's true. And I'm like, okay, well, fool me. but I am obsessed with urban legends. I spent a long time looking loads of them up. And I wanted to know, do you have a favorite urban legend, or do you have an urban legend that you've heard that you think is funny or good?
To be fair, that headlight one is the one that always comes to my mind, the one that you were just talking about, the flashing one. I mean, do you think that urban legend, I mean, we've spoke about in the past, we've spoke about conspiracy theories, and there's a fine line, isn't there, between urban legends and conspiracy theories,
actually.
you know, like,
yes,
like because you get all these like urban legends of like there's I'm trying to think of a good example, but you know, products and stuff. Oh, this was made, you know,
yes,
because you can sell it in certain countries, you know, and that becomes an urban legend in itself. I suppose my favorite one, or the one I always remember from being a kid, is that if you walked under a road sign that was attached, that was embedded into the pavement, like on poles, if you walked through that archway, then you were gay.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? I mean,
I have heard that one.
Yeah. But I mean,
yeah, I know men who still
don't do it because they don't want to turn gay. Yeah.
No, it's so gay. And I remember saying to a mate once, how does it make either you're gay or you're not
what's
gay?
The connection? I mean, what's the connection between being a homosexual and a road sign?
I've no idea. I've no idea. Did you ever hear the one where if you walk on the third
drain or something,
you get blown up? Yeah, you'd get blown up by.
No, do you know what? Again, I think if you, for us, if you walked on the third drain, you were gay. Yeah, I think maybe it's a Gravesend thing. Like you couldn't do anything about it. Like, oh, you're gay. You're so gay.
Everything's gay.
Yeah.
No, you were going to get blown up by the IRA.
Yeah, but
then obviously that changed to Muslims. Or something.
I mean there is a fine line, isn't there, between that and like urban legends.
No, I agree actually, and I was because I've got this book called Urban Legends, and so I was flicking through it today. And
what's
do you
it
remember,
about?
I think it's about. Let me see.
Being gay.
Urban legends. Yeah, being gay. No, it's not printed in Gravesend.
And then the truck driver ran into the diner and said to the woman, "You're gay." And then can you shut up? Every urban legend ends with yeah. And then
you're gay.
And then the babysitter sat there and the phone went and a voice went, "You're gay." And then it, you know, every urban legend.
I mean, that would be good, right? That'd be such a good urban legend. Okay, I'm going to start that one up. Yeah, do you remember the whole Microsoft thing? After it was sort of after 9/11, and they were like, "Oh, Microsoft is run by some sort of cabal because if you go into Wingdings and you type 9 and 1 then it's like a plane and then a filing cabinet that looks like 2 towers." And so like Bill Gates knew. So that's an urban legend, right? Okay, I've got 2 things to say. that is an urban legend, and yes, very close to conspiracy theory. You could even say it was a conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah.
But two, what made me laugh at the time is you could just go to a computer, put it onto Wingdings and type 911 and see what happened. But it was spread far and wide that it reached me and I went, okay, let me try that. And it does not.
No.
And found the plane. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of these things that are so easily disputed or refuted, you can go, well, no, that isn't the case. And people just don't do it. But now that we've lived through this COVID insanity, I can see why people just go, oh yeah, okay, all right. I read it once.
Must be true.
Like my mate told me, so it must be true. Do you remember at the beginning of the pandemic and all these people were like, if you hold your breath for 30 seconds, then you won't catch COVID because I don't know why.
Oh, I never heard that.
Like I know.
I heard that if you hold your breath for 30 seconds, then you're gay.
You're gay.
Yeah, that was a classic back in Gravesend.
I mean, I've only been to Gravesend once. Once.
Everyone's gay. Everyone's gay. So
in Gravesend. Well, maybe. Yeah. Maybe it should be Gaysend.
Gaysend. Yeah, the urban legend as it is. I see. For me, urban legends. When I think of urban legends, like aside from the whole conspiracy theory aspect of it, and because I think with urban legends, I think they fall more into conspiracy theories if it's based on something that's real. In the sense that something that we know,
that there's an element of truth.
Yeah, so Microsoft is something that we all use. It's a real life event. There's conspiracy theories about Coca-Cola making Fanta so they could sell it to Germany or something. Stuff like that.
That is true.
So but
No, but that is 100%
Is that true? Wow, I thought it was an urban legend.
Fanta thing. No, it's 100% true.
Jesus.
Basically, the Coca-Cola company they couldn't get the right ingredients to the German market because of the war, right?
Oh, okay.
To make Coca-Cola, so they invented an orange drink and called it Fanta.
Wow.
And so it was invented for the Nazis, if you like.
Okay.
Because it was Nazi Germany. So that isn't.
But that kind of
thing.
So
that isn't an urban legend.
But that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, so the Microsoft. I mean, okay, another one. Coca-Cola.
Yeah. No,
I think it's an urban legend that Santa changed his outfit to red because of Coca-Cola. That's bullshit.
That is an urban legend. Yeah. And that's
so this is
more that it's lost in the midst of time, right? To us.
Yeah.
And no one, very few ordinary people are interested enough to look into it.
Yeah.
And they just go, oh, that's red. It's Coca-Cola.
I think if it's something that's based in real life, I think it falls more into the conspiracy theory side. For me, urban legend, it always evokes horror, ghost stories. It's a bit more fantastical for me. That's always what
for me. The thing with urban legend is
not even fantastical, like crime. Murder.
No. It's all crime,
fiction.
But also, it's always told in a way that this happened to a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
That's the point of it, right? My sister's best friend's aunt works at the police station, and she told her who told me that there's a man going around and he's asking women to smell perfume samples, but when you smell it's actually chloroform and you pass out and then you wake up and you're in a dungeon. And it's like, really?
then you're like,
first of all,
who fucking
there's
knows
no.
then that you're in a dungeon?
Also, but it's like there's no chemical. Chloroform, for example, doesn't work that quickly. It's actually quite hard to make somebody pass out from chloroform. But it's never it happened to me or my friend who you've also met. It's always my friend's sister's boyfriend's auntie.
Yeah.
It's so far removed that you're like, okay, so you don't know that person. Do you know what I mean? Oh no. Like that there was that tweet recently, Nicki Minaj's cousin's best friend's
didn't he have massive balls or
fiance
something?
got the vaccine. And his balls exploded and now the wedding's off. And you're like, okay, really? Really?
So is that an urban legend or is that conspiracy?
Yes. I would say that it's more of an urban legend.
Yeah.
But because of the current climate that we're in, and there's this anti-vax versus pro-vax situation going on, that it blurs very nicely into conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
But that particular story is definitely an urban legend.
Right.
My cousins.
I think urban legends have taken on more of a, they originate, don't they, folklore, but I think modern times they've taken on more of a horror element, and you get the adaptations, don't you? So that one of my favorites is the babysitter, not the gay one, the baby the babysitter who, and the phone goes and he's like, the voice is like, you need to check the children, and like they ignore it. I mean, I would ignore. I'd go and fucking check the child, but and then they don't, and the phone again and say you need to check the children, and then it becomes they get pestered, and then they phone up the police, and then the police are like, oh, I've traced the call and it's coming from the house. And that they've turned that into movies, when a stranger calls, and and so for me that's more horror.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
It's there to jump you. It's campfire stories, isn't it? That's what they are.
Yes, of course. And also I think there's probably a spike in the telling of and the sharing of urban legends in the 80s because of the Satanic Panic in America. But there are often that kind of mass hysteria about a thing, right? So in the 80s it was this Satanic Panic thing, and then and children being snatched off the street, and we have it again now. I don't know if how familiar you are with the whole like child trafficking thing, and I don't just mean the Wayfair stuff.
I mean, I'm not familiar with it. I don't practice it or anything.
No, but we've discussed it briefly before. People are just so fucking obsessed with the idea that hundreds of thousands of children are being sex trafficked every year. Okay, do you know any? Like, have you met? Do you know what I mean? Like, we would notice if hundreds of thousands of children globally were going missing. We would notice. And this is the thing that makes me crack up about urban legends and conspiracy theories in general, where this mass hysteria about things like these anti-vaxxers. Now look, I don't care if you're anti-vaccine. That's fine. That is on you. But your arguments are flawed and I don't understand them. They keep saying things like, oh, I know people who have dropped down dead from. Do you know anybody that's dropped down dead from having a vaccine? Because if people were dropping down dead from having the vaccine, we would have seen it with our own two eyes.
Yeah.
We would have.
Yeah, but also
and I haven't.
It does, even if they were, it doesn't mean to say that the vaccine's the cause, I guess. It could be.
No, absolutely.
But then that's the other thing, like urban legends and stuff. It's like, that one that you told at the beginning about someone driving through, America,
wherever.
Well, why does that affect me?
Sure, but that was my friend telling me a story because she was just a mischievous little imp. But I have heard that same story later. Do you remember before the internet, but post sort of? There was a sort of funny period where people would get faxes of these sort of circulars in the same way. And I remember I worked in an office, because I'm really old, that had a fax machine. And one day, one of the faxes was like, warning, people are putting baby seats, car seats, in the middle of the road. And when you stop to check on the baby, people are getting robbed or murdered or raped or whatever. And so I remember reading that, and this was after I'd finally learned the truth of this lying bullshitter friend of mine. And I was like, oh, very similar to the lying bullshitter story that Soraya told me. Then I started working at Waterstones, and I came across all these books of urban legends, and I would flick through them and be like, oh, it's a kind of urban legend. And then so there's like the babysitter trope. So do you remember the babysitter got high on acid and then put the baby in the oven and thought it was the turkey? That's a whole type of story. Yeah. Drugged up babysitters is its own genre of urban legend.
Wow.
Women being attacked by baby carriages, car seats in the middle of nowhere, whatever. That's a whole other genre. Car parks, that's a whole genre of urban legend. And then there's like companies and the nefarious and disgusting things that they do. And things like Coca-Cola written backward. If you read Coca-Cola in that Coca-Cola script, if you read it right to left, which is how you read Arabic script, it says something anti Islam, which is why it's not very popular in Muslim countries. Coca-Cola is the number one selling drink globally, Muslim country or not. I mean that's sort of fucking racist, right? Coca-Cola written in that script doesn't look anything like Arabic script. No. So anyway,
if you read Coca-Cola backwards, it says you are gay in Arabic. I like that one. Have you seen that one? That's the Lion King, the Disney Lion King, when the dust or the leaves fly into the sky, and apparently it spells out the word sex. Yeah, like they're a bit more.
And do you know what it really spells out?
Isn't it SFX?
Yeah.
Because
it's.
But everyone's so fucking disgusting and dirty, and everyone fancies Simba at one point.
I know, that's weird, isn't it? And all the boys, unless you're gay, all the boys fancy Nala. I'm like, they're cartoon lions. I don't fancy any of them.
No, exactly. What and about this?
Pumbaa and Timon are the sexy ones.
Yeah, because they're humorous. Sense of humor is sexy.
I like humor. What can I say? I find it a turn on.
What about like modern stuff, like internet wise, like creepypasta? That's what they call the internet urban legend, don't they?
Yeah,
there's a lot. I mean, like you were saying about Facebook, I think folklore and urban legends, there's an element of it, it feeds off that emotion of human beings. There's that element of Chinese whispers. You need people to keep talking about this stuff and transferring it to the next person. And the biggest conduit for that surely is the internet. Surely, like now we've got the internet.
Absolutely.
All this stuff is so rife again. It's like a new platform for urban legends and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't even know where that name creepypasta originated from. I don't know what that's got to do with urban legends, but I don't know why it's called it. But it's another way of getting these stories
it
out.
started as a thing called copy pasta, which is just a way of saying copy paste in a sort of stupid internet way.
Copy and paste.
So copy and paste. So copy pasta was just I suppose it was supposed to be you would copy and paste a thing that happened,
a creepy story,
like verbatim. Yeah. Well, no. So copy pasta
like
is
a chain, just, like copy and paste this, copy and paste this, copy and paste this.
Yes, exactly. So it wasn't creepy at the beginning, and then the internet happened. The internet did the internet thing and made it creepy. And creepy pasta and copy pasta to an extent. I mean, some of them are really well written and interesting stories, right? But this is where creepypasta is where we get like Slender Man from, which you might have heard of. And then so Slender Man started as a creepypasta competition where you were supposed to like Photoshop a Slender Man figure into quite innocuous scenes like children in a playground, and then in the background you would see Slender Man, and then somebody and maybe they have been named, but I don't know the name, wrote a story about Slender Man, and black-eyed children, it was closely linked to it. And so you end up with this internet urban legend being built sort of in real time, right? And then what makes it really fucking terrifying is it bleeds into the actual real world, where some teenage girls murdered another teenage girl because they said that Slender Man told them to do it. And obviously he didn't, because he doesn't exist. They're just fucking psychopathic children.
Yeah.
But it becomes reality.
It's like a strange brainwashing,
and it lends more absolutely, but lends more credibility to any future Slender. So
I guess because then people are like, "Oh fuck, is Slender Man real?" Jesus.
Right? Yeah. So in 30 years' time, when things are a bit more muddled, people are going to be like, "Well, but I saw this thing, and these girls really did murder this. Unfortunately, this 15-year-old girl." Because Slenderman, so maybe there's an element of truth to it, and then they're going to create their own myths around Slenderman.
Yeah, because they turned it into a film, didn't they? It was so popular.
Yeah.
Which I've never seen.
Famously or infamously, perhaps. There was a movie called Urban Legend, and it turns out there was a bloody sequel too, but I never watched it.
I've not seen this film. I know it exists, but I've never watched it. Have you seen it?
Okay, so yeah, and I'm going to explain.
Has it got Jared Leto in it? Is it like an early Jared Leto?
That's why I've seen it.
Right. Were you like, I loved his performance in The Joker. I might go back and see what other classics is.
No. There's
a
wasn't, TV show called...
I love his performance in Joker. I'm thinking of Joaquin. I do apologise.
Exactly.
What's
Jared
Leto ever done?
I'm going to tell you.
Dallas Buyers Social Club?
Nope.
No.
I'm going to tell you. Shut up for 1 second.
Sorry, go on.
There was a TV show called My So-Called Life.
Oh, I remember that.
Right. He played Jordan Catalano.
Did you have a crush on Jordan Catalano?
I loved My So-Called Life. Everybody had a crush on Jordan Catalano.
No, because it's Jared Leto.
It was illegal. No, because it was Jordan Catalano. Because...
I mean, it helped that it was Jared fucking Leto.
No, because he's a fucking knobhead, and I knew that. But
doesn't matter though. You wouldn't like if it was fucking the guy who played Screech playing Jordan
How dare
Catalano, you wouldn't be.
Sure, but
was...
the point is that I liked the character Jordan Catalano at the time, because as an adult, I prefer a different character called Brian Krakow. I happen to be the owner of a group on Facebook. I'm so embarrassed. We have over 1,500 members in this group. And it's just My So-Called Life. It's what it's called.
You spoke about this before.
Well, because it was all kicking off recently. So
yeah.
I don't know why. Anyway, I mean, I had to really right. So it has 1,700 members. Maybe I should put this podcast in the group. Dudes, just listen to it one time. Anyway, so I went to the cinema to watch Urban Legend because Jared Leto was in it. And it was the first thing that I can think of anyway, post My So-Called Life, that Jared Leto was in. And it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It was like a B movie version of I Know What You Did Last Summer. But at the time, I was really into Urban Legends and I was really into Jordan Catalano.
So did you?
I was like,
did you enjoy it at the time?
No, it's shit. It's
and
so
have you
shit.
have you watched it again since?
No.
Because I did.
I saw it that one time.
I have read the plot on Wikipedia, and it doesn't even sound like an urban legend. It just sounds like a horror movie, like a really naff.
So it's a
90s slasher,
typical 90s
movie.
slasher movie. Yeah, typical 90s slasher movie where the each of the crimes that are committed sort of are similar to urban legends that we would have all been aware of at the time. So, there's a famous urban legend where, I knew this woman who went to college in America, and her roommate got murdered, and the next day she didn't know that the roommate was murdered, and then the next day she discovered the dead body, and on the wall it said, "Bet you're glad you didn't turn on the light," in her blood.
What's that mean?
So the girl comes in, the roommate's dead, but she hasn't turned on the light. The murderer is still there. She goes straight to sleep because they literally share rooms in the States.
Yeah.
And she goes to sleep, and whilst she's asleep, the murderer has written, "Bet you're glad you didn't turn on the light."
Yeah,
because then she wakes up and there's a dead body, and because the murderer was there all along. I don't know.
If they were good at their job, then
being a murderer isn't a job, is it?
Well, it's a vocation. Isn't it?
Okay.
If
I don't know, I never murdered anyone.
If they were good at their vocation, they would have killed her as well, regardless if it was dark or not.
Well,
wasting time fucking painting on a wall with blood.
I suppose that's not the point, is it? Do you remember that one? There was this girl, right? And she had a dog, and every night the dog would lick her feet.
Oh yeah, go on. Yeah.
And then her parents go out of town, right?
Yeah.
And she's really scared, but the dog licks her feet, so she's happy, and she feels safe. And then she goes to sleep, but in the night she hears drip 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 drip, and then but she puts her feet on the floor and the dog licks her feet, so she feels okay, the dog's here to protect me, it's fine. And then she hears drip 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 drip, and the dog licks her feet, so she feels safe and it's fine. And then in the morning, she goes into the bathroom and the dog has been murdered, which is fucking terrible.
This is the bit that
worst one.
fucking
Yeah,
annoys
this
me
is the
more.
worst one. And then on the wall it's written, "Humans can lick too."
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
So it goes from like animal murder, dog murder, which is fucking
which is the worst.
But also there's this weird, horrible, like perverted sexual thing there. Like again,
yeah, I suppose.
If you killed a dog, why didn't you kill the girl? Why are you just licking her foot? Like,
I mean, that is a good point. That is a really.
Do you reckon it was the same? Do you reckon it was the same?
Why would you kill?
If,
Listen,
half-assed murderer.
Maybe they can only kill.
Absolutely half-assed.
Maybe they can only kill one thing per 24-hour period.
Bullshit.
I don't know. I've never murdered.
Isn't there one about?
I swear down.
I can't remember it, but isn't there one about someone's like head banging on a car or something when they're driving?
Oh God!
What one's that one?
This is like so rubbish.
So, because none of the others were.
No, but this is particularly rubbish because it's. I don't know. I never liked this one. So, okay. So there's like this woman and her boyfriend, and they're like in a car, and then the car like runs out of petrol, and the boyfriend, like, they'd heard on the radio that this man had escaped from a mental asylum, like, because that happens every 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And so he says, like, okay, I need to go up the road a bit to get petrol, right?
He's legging it. He's legging it. He's you're on your own, love.
And he says, don't open the door to anybody. And that bit always reminds me of, do you remember the story about the goats? And the mama goat says to the kids, don't open the door. And then the wolf, I can't really remember
what?
But like the wolf eats some chalk, so his voice sounds higher pitched. And the baby goats let the wolf in, and then he kills all the goats. Anyway, that's an aside, but it always reminds me of that story. So so the boyfriend goes off, right? And the girlfriend is like sitting in the car, and it's dark, and she's scared, and there's a mental patient on the loose, and then she hears like a on the roof, and she's like, oh my God, I don't know what that is. And but she ignores it, and then she hears this like again, and she's like, oh, I don't know, I shouldn't open the door. And then she hears this again, and then there's like blue flashing lights behind her, and the policemen get the megaphone out, and they say, exit the car, and do not look behind you, ma'am. And she comes out the car, and they're like, just walk towards us, don't look at the car, don't look at the car, don't look behind you. But at the last second, she looks at the roof of the car, and on the roof of the car is a crazy man with the decapitated head of her boyfriend, and he's on the roof of the car with the head of the boyfriend. Dun, dun, dun. That one.
Is it true?
Yeah, oh yeah. It happened.
It's
no, listen.
It's horror movies for 9-year-olds, isn't it? That's what it is.
It happened. No, listen.
It's horror stories for 9-year-olds.
My mum's friend's sister's
cousin,
boyfriend's cousin.
Who's
That's
gay?
What happened to? Yeah. Isn't everyone gay?
Are any of these classics in this movie?
The roommate
that
being
is
murdered.
Yeah,
that is. Let me just have a quick look at the plot because I don't remember. And do you know,
Does
I saw
Jared
it that
Leto
one
get
time.
killed?
That's the only. I don't remember. I think so because I think that the first there were like 3 movies that I remember he did very soon after My So-Called Life. And in every single one, he was either murdered or brutally beaten up. Like, so he's in Fight Club, he's
Yeah.
Babyface or Angel
Yeah.
Face, and he gets properly mauled in that, doesn't he? Where he looks fucked. And then, I mean, I watched that because not because of him. I didn't know he was in it. I watched it because I thought it was like really interesting and like it was like a really good story. It's one of my favorite films. And nowadays I sound like some sort of 1990s man, you know, because it's such a male film slash book that people do misunderstand the point of the fucking narrative. But there are loads of my like fave things. Like I really love 1984. I really love Fight Club.
Yeah.
That I'm now falling into the wrong categories on the internet of like white right wing man who's sort of against.
I can tell you right now, you are not a right
I'm not.
wing man.
I'm not a man. This is true.
Or right wing.
Oh yeah. No, certainly not. During the party, Parker is incapacitated by the killer in the bathroom, who murders him with pop rocks and bathroom chemicals down his throat. So that's an urban legend because do you remember pop rocks?
Yeah.
The candy
popping
that
candy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was an urban legend in America in the 80s that this kid called Mikey on an advert died by eating Pop Rocks and Coca-Cola, and then his stomach exploded.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's an urban
So
legend.
they chuck that one in.
And then Brenda attempts to remove Natalie's kidney but is thwarted. So that removing the kidney thing is that whole urban legend about people waking up in a bathtub full of ice and their kidney's missing. Dun dun dun. I mean I just anyway. Here we go. Michelle is murdered by a killer in the back seat. This legend is also referenced by various people looking at the back seat or talking about it, as we've discussed.
The backseat killer.
Oh, the old backseat killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the old backseat killer. Coverage of Michelle's murder in the university newspaper is covered up by the dean, referencing the university cover-up of campus murder and the subsequent fears of the students' reference to the Hatchet Man legend, which is an unnamed killer targeting college campuses at random. I don't really know that one. They also tried to invoke Bloody Mary. Did you ever
in the mirror?
Yeah.
That's just Candyman, though, isn't it?
Candyman is after, though. Bloody Mary's been a thing.
I love a Bloody Mary, if I'm honest.
I don't. They're too spicy.
I fucking love it.
Just give me vodka. I mean, I don't even like vodka, but vodka and tomato juice. It's the whole there's Tabasco sauce.
Tabasco, yeah. The more Tabasco, the merrier.
No. No.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's too hot. It's too hot. I'm a very weak, sensitive tongued woman.
The thing with the Bloody Mary thing, though.
But you're Spanish, and I say only half.
You're a mild Spaniard, aren't you?
Exactly.
The thing with the Bloody Mary thing, though, is it's quite a supernatural thing, isn't it? So it doesn't sound like it worked in that film because at the moment it's all like kind of just killers and people.
Gangs driving with their headlights turned off. That's an urban legend.
Not
So
around Dartford, it ain't.
Well, so the urban legend is there are gangs of people who drive around with the headlights of their cars turned off, so that when you do the flash to signal to them, hey, your headlights
are off.
They the first person to flash them
is gay.
No. I mean, maybe, but then they're gonna get murdered by the gang.
Well, because they're the chosen one.
Not because they're gay.
No, just because
they
okay, we'll wait for the first person to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, my brother Philip drives me from the house to here.
Mm.
And this is a little bit further away, but not
Does
much.
he do it without his lights on?
Every now and then he gets like up our street, or his street, I suppose, because I don't actually live there, but drives up the street and then turns right and then right again onto like a main road. And he hasn't put his headlights on yet. And so when we're on Kilburn Lane, he'll get flashed. And every time I think, maybe Philip's in a gang and now he knows I need to murder those people.
I'm going to drop Vicky off and then I'm going after you.
And then I'm going to fucking get you.
And then I'm going to cut your head off and bang it on your car roof.
Because I'm gay.
Yeah. And now you are too. The curse of the urban legend.
Yeah. Natalie finds her roommate strangled to death in her bed with the note, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? Told you that was a fucking urban legend." The ankle slasher under the car legend.
What?
Oh. Just that basically people are hiding out under your car and they'll slash your ankles.
Under your car? How do they do? Oh, okay. Before you get in the car. Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I just in my head I had the Flintstones. Just like you're driving along. Oh God, it's been a long weekend of cold. I do apologise. Yeah, any more for any more
people from Graves?
Any more for any more on these fucking appalling stories that.
A guest at the frat party claims that the song "Love Roller Coaster" contains a real murder scream.
Okay. Does it?
That is true. I mean, I've heard that.
Does it? Is that?
No, it's an urban legend.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I'm gonna
Google it. Would you class?
Press this button.
The thing about Pink Floyd's "Dark Side of the Moon" syncs up with Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
So would you class that as an urban legend?
Yeah. Because also it doesn't sync up. And even if it did,
I think there's certain parts where you're like, oh, actually,
sure,
but it's not
but
like.
I think but because the human brain
is stupid
wants to find patterns.
Right.
We want to find patterns. Like how there's this thing where we can see faces in lots of different things. It's because our brain is stupid, frankly. You're right.
Yeah.
Where we are looking for things that aren't necessarily there. So, like a coincidence. Like a coincidence is so likely to happen, but we want to ascribe meaning to it because it's more comforting, isn't it, to see a pattern or meaning in something like that. It makes sense to us.
Yeah.
Things aren't random. Yeah, but you know what? Things are random. Yeah. So it is random that there's a particular song on Dark Side of the Moon starts playing when Dorothy enters Munchkinland.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't mean anything.
No.
And even if it did, so what? Maybe they did that on purpose, and there's no special meaning to it except the members of Pink Floyd thought it would be cool to do that. I mean,
I like the soundtrack as it is. I don't really want. I like Pink Floyd, but I don't want to.
I don't like Pink Floyd, so like whatever.
No, but the soundtrack to Wizard of Oz,
I love the soundtrack to Wizard of Oz.
That's what I mean. You don't need anything put over the top.
No, but like people
get bored.
I do.
That's basically an urban legend.
I do.
People
think,
get
well,
bored.
I do think it's that, and I do think that I think that we look for patterns in things. We look for meaning in things where sometimes there is no meaning, right? And we also not like to be scared, but evolutionarily, it is really important that we are always on the lookout, right? So we are designed to remember bad things more than we are designed to remember good things.
Part of that survival thing, isn't it? If you remember the bad things, you're trying to stop, you're trying to prepare yourself, stop them from happening so you can survive.
Exactly so. And I think that part of the point of urban legends, fairy tales, cautionary tales, whatever they are, whenever they were, is so that we remain safe, right?
So it's like what you said before about it being teaching morals and teaching. It's like a basic life lesson, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's more likely that we're going to remember the very scary and the very gory. So those are the things
no news is good news. So
sure, and that famously in journalism, if it bleeds, it leads. Because we want to know awful things, frankly, and so I do think that I think that what we need to sort of remember is to be a little bit cynical about things, but I think there's probably a little tiny weeny, the smallest amount of truth to any of these stories, but to just be cynical, whether it be conspiracy theory or urban legends or whatever. Just think, but really, that's all. That's all I think anyone needs to remember about anything is like, really? Okay, let me think about that. And that's what I think that most people don't do. They go, "Oh, did you know? Or have you heard?" And it's like the most ludicrous, insane story you've ever heard. And they're telling it to you as though like, well, obviously that's a thing. And I'm like, no, not obviously. That's insane.
So maybe the movie Urban Legends is no, but maybe it's a perfect homage to an urban legend that is so ludicrous
and forgettable, not unforgettable. Because I did watch it. Did you see? There's a reboot of the Scream franchise.
It's called Scream, isn't it? It's just come out.
Oh.
I did. I haven't seen it, but I read the plot on Wikipedia because I couldn't be asked to go. Oh, I know. I'll watch it when it's on the TV and I'm bored.
Sure. Is it the same
old shit? Same old shit wrapped
Scream?
up. So,
Well,
but then I say that with a cynical flair. But actually, I love a sequel or a reboot to something, you know.
It depends what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It really, really depends.
I mean,
but
in that respect, they could do a reboot to Urban Legends and they could do it well. Tap into that little fear that you got when you were 9 years old and someone was telling you the story. Do you know what? The closest, I don't know if you've seen it, but the closest we have come to not an adaptation, but a movie version of Urban Legend, that kind of feel. Not Urban Legend at all, but it's got that feel of when you were 9 and you were pleasantly haunted by something, you know, haunted enough to keep you.
Just tell me.
Yeah, oh fucking hell, what's it called?
Oh, shut up, you
stories to tell in the dark.
Oh. Speaking of which,
yeah, Del Toro. It's the Del Toro one. It's really good. It's really good.
Is it?
But if you did Urban Legends like that, it's like if you did that mixed with the Twilight Zone movie, you would be onto a Urban Legends winner.
I fucking love the Twilight Zone. So the other day, I didn't leave the flat because I'm very lazy, and I watched 2 whole series of 2 different things, right? And one was called something like Beyond Belief or something. They're both on Disney Plus.
Well, okay.
One was for kids. They were both anthology series like Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
One was for kids and one was American Horror Stories, so like for grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
So like one was, I don't know, PG and one was 15. Yeah. I'm telling you now that the one for PG was so much better because the one for grown-ups was just a lot of blood. So it's too
on the nose, whereas the other one's just a bit.
No,
the other one's creepy. The other one's just a bit like.
Yeah, but creepy is
worse because,
in my opinion,
because creepy lingers.
Yes.
With you afterwards, and that is the thing with the Urban Legends. When you're 9,
where it's all just like,
and they're telling you about babysitters getting the phone calls and dogs licking feet and stuff like that, it lingers with you.
Can we just go back to that babysitter one? I've always liked that story, you know, like I found it enjoyable. But how is the call coming from inside the house? Do they have 2 phone lines?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Maybe the killer is using the landline to phone the babysitter's mobile.
But it was in the originally it was
in
the
70s,
wasn't it? 80s, right?
Do you know what? That's a question for me to have to say, look, in America, do you have multiple phone lines?
They probably did. Do you know what they're like, these bloody Yanks?
Maybe, do you know what? Knowing the Yanks, they would have written the Urban Legend first. and then be like, right, we need multiple phone lines in houses now, guys. Just
just so that this shit makes sense.
Yeah.
Because for those Brits, they're going to be picking holes in this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to open the Christmas wine.
Oh. Christmas wine.
Mistletoe and
time.
Wine. Wine, 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 wine.
Wine, 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 wine.
Wine, wine.
Have you got any favourite Urban Legends? Aside from the one you told me that your friend told you.
I really wanted to.
The one with Jared Leto.
No.
Well, that's a good point. Have you ever thought of your own Urban Legend?
No, I haven't. But what I wanted to do when I was about 11, 12, I wanted to rewrite some urban legends into a short story anthology where I presented them as though they were just sort of stories.
Yeah.
And, when I was 11 or 12, I thought that was a really clever concept. Obviously, it's not. It's,
The world of Netflix, no.
Well, I mean, exactly. It's just what happens, right? But I was 11 or 12. It was when I was not at school, so I was a little bit crazy anyway. So I was gonna write them, and they were gonna be called,
Vicky's Urban
the initials
Legends.
were gonna be ITV. No, the initials were ITV. Yeah, because I thought that was funny. But I can't remember. I remember the T stood for tails. Oh, I can't remember.
Tales of Vicky.
I even Itinerant Tales of Victoria.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember. I remember that, and I remember I wrote, I made a cover. Anyway, it was before the internet, remember? So my favorite one was the Humans Can Lick Too. That was number one favorite urban legend.
Right.
Because I was like,
yeah.
Oh my God, it's true.
Yep. Yeah.
Human people have tongues.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's my absolute favorite one. And then more recently, because I sort of purvey them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to say, they were all, every time there are two particular people on Facebook full of urban legends, right? And every time I reply, I start writing a whole thing, and then I delete it.
I can't be fucked now.
Then,
yeah,
no, because it's just like they're not going to listen to me. Yeah. It's a load of bullshit. Yeah. It's just a fucking urban legend.
Yeah. Do you know what? You could start replying though. Just send them the YouTube link of this episode.
I will.
In the reply.
I will now.
Yeah, just that.
My favorite type are shit that happens in car parks. There is a whole spate of shit that happens in car parks. That there's a gang that busts out the lights on a particular floor of a car park, but do you know, it's never mentioned where this car park is. Is it in a mall? Is it a workplace? Is it an apartment complex? Doesn't matter. They come out into a car park. They're asked to smell a perfume sample.
Do they have to pay and display?
I mean, who knows? No one gets that far, right?
Yeah.
Like car parks, maybe in the 80s. I remember going to car parks with my dad because of his job, not because of solicitation of anything.
Child trafficking.
No, there was no child trafficking apart from me. I was working for him.
Yeah.
That's child exploitation, certainly.
Yeah.
But there were, I don't know if you remember, but there were car parks that were like, there was always a drip in the background. You would hear like a ding, 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 ding. Somewhere in the distance.
Yep.
A light flickering off and on and off.
This sounds like an urban legend in itself.
No, but isn't that true? Isn't it true that in the olden days, car parks were fucking terrifying?
They still are now.
No, now all of the lights are working. There's like signs painted. There's pay and display. There's a whole there's fucking CCTV everywhere because they want to get your money, baby. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's much more, I don't know, like on it about basically taking your money for parking in the fucking car park. Where in the olden days, it was like, oh, maybe this is an abandoned witch's car park. You know what I mean? Like, fucking terrifying places, and cold, always cold. And we once found a feral cat with kittens, and she did not like us. So we left. And nowadays, that would be on bloody some sort of Instagram post.
Oh, that'd be on.
We saved this feral cat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where in those days it was like, okay, this cat's gonna fucking fuck me up.
Yeah.
So we were like, my dad was like, that cat's feral. Walk away. Walk away. No, but we can't leave the cat.
Well,
the cat was gonna kill us.
The cat bit your head off. You know.
The cat fucking scratched Mikey up.
Yeah.
Was like.
Yeah.
It was demonic.
Did this happen?
And that's not an urban legend. No, it was.
That's
real.
That's a suburban legend.
It didn't happen to a friend of a friend. It was an urban legend because it was in London. It was like Liverpool Street. That fucking cat was gonna kill me. If that cat had a knife, it stabbed me up. I'm telling you. I remember it. Every time I watch one of them, like, do you know the dodo?
The extinct.
With the dodo?
The extinct dodo.
Not the distinct animal. The social media presence. There's a social media company called the Dodo.
No.
They're on Instagram. Oh, mate. They're on
See, now everything you're saying to me now just all sounds like an urban legend. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, this is a true fact.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to, like, if you go to my Instagram account, you'll see that I follow the Dodo on Insta, on Twitter, on Facebook. I mean, it's a thing.
If I follow the Dodo on Instagram, will I become gay?
No.
Good.
Are you gay? Is this what this whole episode is? Is you trying?
This is James's coming out episode. That's why
James is coming.
That's
out.
why Hayley's really not here.
You came out.
She left.
She was like,
I came out. She went out.
Fucking hell. My mum said, you know Michael Barrymore's gay, right?
Yes. Is he? Surely that's an urban legend.
No.
Stuart Lubbock, that's an urban legend.
Oh,
he was just going for a swim.
Let's not touch that. Jesus Christ.
That's what he said.
So you know when Michael Barrymore came out, my mum said, but he's married to a woman.
Yeah.
And I said,
Cheryl, wasn't it? Cheryl.
Yeah.
Barrymore.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, yeah. Well, how could he be married to a woman if he's gay? And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, Mum.
You should have said to her, because he walked under a road sign that was attached to the pavement.
Oh yeah, I should have.
He walked over 3 drains.
Know that. She would have been like, what? I just think, like, when you find out, people have had kids and then they're like, actually,
I'm homosexual.
Surprise, surprise, I'm gay. And my mum was always like, but they have children. And I'm like, okay.
That would have been the worst. Worst episode of Cilla Black. Surprise, surprise. If the whole family were there and the dad's like, I've got something to say. I'm gay.
I'm gay. I'm from Gravesend. And I walked under a street sign when I was 23.
And
and I'm gay.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Gays can lick too.
Oh, fucking hell.
This has been a Head Full of Straw production of Vicky Goes On and On with Vicky Stokes and James Wells.
As soon as I left the fucking room, my God, it's so cold.
Is it? Jesus Christ.
Or like Bob Cratchit at the beginning of Christmas Carol.